The night smells like nothing. That's the first thing you notice. Not blood, not smoke, not the copper wire tension you were trained to expect. Just nothing. Cold air moving through your nostrils at 2:17 in the morning, somewhere in a valley that doesn't exist on any map your family would ever find. You are 26 years old. You weigh 187 pounds with kit. You have not slept in 31 hours. You are exactly where you chose to be. Phase 1. The entry weren't always this. Rewind 7 years. You are standing on a wet asphalt pad in the dark, wearing boots that don't fit yet, beside 11 other men who also don't fit yet. A cadre sergeant walks past you without looking at you. That's the first lesson. You are not worth looking at. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The selection course runs 23 days. You will later remember only fragments. A hill called something you weren't allowed to write down. A rucksack that topped 58 pounds by day 4. The sound of a man ahead of you dropping to one knee and not getting up, and the instruction that follows. Keep moving. You keep moving. The cold at night is specific. It's not dramatic cold. It's administrative cold, the kind that doesn't care about you, that simply occupies every layer of clothing and sits there, indifferent. Your fingers lose dexterity at around 34 degrees Fahrenheit. You learned this not from a manual, but from the moment you fumble a magazine change and a cadre stops the clock and writes something down and says nothing. He writes something down. That's all. And you understand that you have just been measured against a standard that was set before you were born. You are not being trained to be brave. You are being trained to be useful. There is a difference. The distinction takes years to fully understand. By the time you do, the understanding costs something you cannot name. You pass selection on your second attempt. Nobody congratulates you. You are handed a course packet and told to report to a building without a visible sign at 0530 the following morning. You nod. You report. The building is beige. Inside it smells like recycled air and industrial cleaning solution. The fluorescent lights flicker every 40 seconds. You count, because counting is now what your mind does when it has nothing else to hold on to. Your first real team, for men, then 8. Then you're embedded in a 12-man element and you don't ask questions about the other elements, because the first rule of the organization you now belong to is that curiosity is a liability. Year 1. You carry the radio and the extra ammunition. You do not speak unless addressed. Year 2. You carry the same things, but now you also carry a working knowledge of 3 target packages, emergency signaling protocols, and the ability to calculate a helicopter landing zone in 90 seconds under direct stress. You are promoted. The promotion is a paperwork event. There is no ceremony. Someone hands you a folder. You sign it. You leave. Year 3 brings your first live operation. It is not what the films prepared you for. It is quieter, more procedural. You move through the dark with 5 other men in a column spaced 10 meters apart, and the entire event takes 11 minutes from breach to exfil, and on the helicopter back you do not speak, because everyone is running their own internal debrief, cataloging what the body did versus what the mind wanted, checking the seams between training and reality for gaps. There are always gaps. You file your after action. You use precise language. You omit 3 things, not out of deception, but because the after-action format has no field for them. The format was designed by people who were not there. This is normal. This is the first small act of translation you will learn to perform automatically, compressing experience into language the system can process. Year 4, Year 5. You are now the one walking past the new men without looking at them. Not out of cruelty, out of accuracy. They are not worth looking at yet. You know what the looking costs. And you have learned to spend it carefully. Here is what the manuals do not tell you. The system operates on a principle it never names. Call it controlled imprecision. Everything is documented, but documentation is not the same as accountability. Everything is reviewed. But review is not the same as oversight. The gap between those 2 things, documentation and accountability, review and oversight, is where you learn to live. Targets are categorized. People inside buildings become designated objects inside objective areas. The language is not cruelty. The language is load-bearing. Remove it and the cognitive weight of what you are asked to do becomes structurally impossible to carry. You learn the vocabulary. You use it. After a while, you don't notice you're using it. Budgets run in fiscal years, and your unit's operational tempo is calibrated to funding cycles you will never see in full. In a good year, you run 14 to 18 operations over a 9-month deployment. In a constrained year, 11, the difference comes down to rotary wing availability and a line item in a document approved by someone in a building you will never enter. 11 operations or 18, the number changes. The targets change. The country sometimes changes. You do not change the mission. The mission changes you incrementally, in ways that don't register as change because each increment is so small. The unspoken rules are elaborate and precise. You don't discuss operational specifics in unsecured locations. You don't discuss casualties in terms that create paper trails requiring further review. You don't ask why a target package was elevated from level 3 to level 1 between Tuesday's brief and Wednesday's execution. You assume the analysts know something you don't. Because assuming otherwise is a form of insubordination that has no formal name but is understood by everyone. You learn to root around obstruction. If the target package is incomplete, you supplement it with pattern of life analysis conducted by your own element and reported as confirmation of existing intelligence. This is technically within protocol. You know it is technically within protocol because you once spent 4 hours reading the protocol document looking for the precise place where it stopped applying, and you found the gap, and you filed it away. Creative compliance. That's not a term anyone uses, but it's the skill that advances careers more reliably than anything physical. You are, by year 6, very good at it. The relationship ends in a Tuesday phone call. She says you're not present even when you're home. You don't argue. She's factually correct. When you're home, you're running operational geometry in your head, angles of approach, contingency exits, the geometry of spaces, doorways, hallways, the sight lines from a restaurant table. You sit with your back to the wall not as a cliché, but because the body has simply overwritten that preference with a trained imperative and you no longer have the access code to reverse it. You say you understand. She says understanding isn't the same as changing. You recognize this is true and have nothing useful to add. The call is 12 minutes long. You remember its duration more clearly than its content. Your father stops asking what you do. He asked for the first 3 years. You gave him the cover story, logistics coordination, regional support, administrative roles. He nodded with the specific nod of a man who has decided that believing something false is less painful than demanding something true. Eventually he stops asking. You are grateful. The gratitude itself is a kind of grief. Sleep becomes architectural. You build it carefully, blackout curtains, temperature at 65 degrees, nothing that vibrates near the bed. You can fall asleep in under 4 minutes in almost any condition. You cannot stay asleep past 040 without assistance. The body has learned to treat stillness as a threat posture. Stillness in your operational environment meant the target knew you were there. The body has not updated this understanding. You stop telling people what you do for a living at social events, not because it's classified, because the explanation requires a context that takes longer to build than any conversation is designed to sustain. You say, government work. People nod and pivot to something comfortable. You are relieved. The isolation is not imposed. That's important to understand. Nobody isolates you. You move there gradually, the way water finds the lowest available point, not by force, by physics, by the simple gravitational pull of a life that has become too specific to be shared with anyone outside it. Your closest relationships are now with men who speak the same compressed language. You can communicate an entire tactical assessment in 11 words. You cannot explain to someone who loves you why you checked the exits before sitting down for dinner on your anniversary. Both things are true simultaneously. The system does not resolve them. The system was not designed to resolve them. The system was designed to maintain your operational availability. Your operational availability remains at 94%. The night smells like nothing. To 17 in the morning. A valley that doesn't exist on any map. You are at the base of a compound wall and your pulse is at 71 beats per minute, which is the number you've trained toward, calm enough for precision, elevated enough for speed. Your gloved hand rests flat against cold stone, rough-cut mortar, old construction. The thermal imagery showed 2 heat signatures in the primary structure, 2 signatures. Adult male. Adult male, that is the intelligence package. That is what you signed off on 3 hours ago in a briefing room where the air smelled like recycled air and industrial cleaning solution, because every room in every building that houses this work smells exactly the same. The breach charge seats. Your team lead gives the count on a hand signal. 3, 2, 1. The door comes apart. You are already moving. The body does this. The training does this. 11 years of compressed repetition execute before any conscious instruction is formed. You clear the threshold. You clear left. Your barrel moves to the room's geometry the way a key moves to a lock it was made for. And then you stop. Not tactically. The tactical movement continues. Your legs still carry you forward. Your muzzle still covers the assigned sector. But something else stops. Something deeper. There is a child asleep on a mat in the corner. Not a heat signature. Not a data point. A child. Maybe 8 years old. One arm thrown over her face, the way children sleep when the light bothers them. She hasn't woken up. The breach was loud. You don't know how she hasn't woken up. But she's asleep, and the room has 4 people in it, not 2. And the 2 additional signatures are a woman and this girl, and the intelligence package was wrong. The intelligence package was wrong. You've had 4 seconds. In 4 seconds, you have processed the room layout, the 2 male figures now against the far wall with hands rising, the woman frozen behind them, the child, the structural integrity of the ceiling, the position of your teammates, the location of the door, the active status of your radio. In 4 seconds. You have also processed something the debrief form will have no field for. Your team lead is looking at you. The mission continues or the mission aborts on the next 2 seconds of your decision. You are the senior element member on this breach. This is yours. The 2 men against the wall. Hands up, eyes wide. One of them is breathing so fast you can see it in the flutter of his shirt. The other one is not moving at all. And the stillness of him is the thing your body reads as danger because you have trained for years to read stillness as a threat posture. You know this about yourself. You know the body's reading may not be accurate. You know both things. You have about 1 second left. There is no correct choice in this room. There is only the choice you make, and the life you carry after it. The system gave you the tools to enter this room. It did not give you the tools to be in it. Your hand moves. The debrief takes 4 hours. You use precise language. You omit 3 things, not out of deception, but because the debrief format has no field for them. The format was designed by people who were not there. The intelligence failure is logged and assigned to an analytical review board that will produce a report in 60 to 90 days. The report will use passive voice throughout. No individual will be named. Corrective protocols will be updated. You are cleared for return to operational status. 6 months later, you submit your separation paperwork. The process is procedural. You sign documents over 2 days. Someone hands you a folder. You leave. There is no ceremony. There is, briefly, a handshake from a man you have worked alongside for years, and the handshake communicates something that neither of you will say, because the vocabulary for it doesn't exist in any language the system taught you. You drive home on a Tuesday. The highway looks the same as it always looked. The air outside the car doesn't smell like anything in particular. You sit with your back to the wall at the first restaurant you stop at, and you check the sight lines, and then you catch yourself checking the sight lines. And for the first time in 11 years, you consciously notice the habit and have nothing to do with the noticing. Somewhere tonight, a different valley, a different wall, a different man whose pulse is sitting at 71 beats per minute. The mission is running. The unit doesn't hold the space where you were. Nobody holds any space in the unit. The unit is not a collection of individuals. The unit is a process. You are a component in the process. The process continues. New selections are running. There are men on a wet asphalt pad right now, in boots that don't fit yet, standing next to 11 other men who also don't fit yet. A cadre sergeant is walking past them without looking at them. This is not cruelty. This is accuracy. They are not worth looking at yet. In 7 years, one of them will stand at the base of a compound wall at 2:17 in the morning and feel cold stone through a gloved hand and believe, the way you once believed, that they are exactly where they chose to be, and they will be right, and they will be wrong, and the night will smell like nothing, and the door will come apart, and they will already be moving. End.